Thanks for checking out GuitarTricks.com recently. Quick question.
Days of an administration to take such dramatic steps and actions.
And today, the president also taking potentially irreversible steps by pushing the Pentagon to withdraw thousands of troops from Afghanistan after ousting Defense Secretary Mark Esper last week for objecting. The acting Defense Secretary announcing a rapid troop drawdown from both Iraq and Afghanistan.
By January 15th, 2021, our forces, their size in Afghanistan, will be 2,500 troops. Our force size in Iraq will also be 2,500.
Already tonight in Baghdad, Iranian-backed militias fired rockets near the Green Zone, killing a child and wounding 5 civilians. The president's refusal to consult his successor on national security is unprecedented in modern times, alarming experts at home and allies abroad.
Can you clarify this conversation you had with the Secretary of State in Georgia? Did you or did you not ask him to throw out votes?
No, that's ridiculous. I talked to him about how you verify signatures.
Why is the senator from South Carolina calling the Secretary of State in Georgia anyway?
Because the future of the country hangs in the balance.
Tonight, the Secretary of State in Georgia says the official audit of voting machines found no evidence of fraud. He stood by his excluding some ballots. Graham says that's not true, but there's a problem with Graham's account. There were staff members on the call, including a top deputy to the Secretary of State, who confirms his boss's account of the conversation. 2 more returning veterans with us tonight. Co-host of The Circus on Showtime, which is currently in an unwarranted and inexcusable hiatus. In his spare time, John remains executive editor of The Recount. Asked Lindsey Graham, what do you think a senator from your home state of South Carolina is doing nosing around in an election recount in Georgia?
He's up to no good. Look, he has no reason to meddle in the election return counting affairs of the state of Georgia. Yeah, it's a neighboring state, and yes, he is head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, but that's not relevant to this case. He has no business calling around, calling like this, and apparently, implying at least the Secretary of State of Georgia drew the inference that he was trying to get him to throw out legitimate votes for Joe Biden so that Donald Trump potentially could win the state. I mean, that's what he seems to have been trying to do. And it's absolutely outrageous. I hope there is a thorough investigation of Senator Graham and what he's trying to do. There's always already a discrepancy. Graham said he also called the secretaries of state of a couple other states. One, and the official, he said he called in Arizona, apparently immediately denied having spoken with him at all. So we need to get to the bottom of this. But this is wrong. This is one of many, many things that are going on now with Republicans that are deeply wrong.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date.
The President of the United States has just fired the person in charge of election security who issued the statement saying these are the most secure elections in American history, saying he's firing him because he doesn't like what he said and that everything he said is wrong just because Trump is saying so.
Yeah, the president is making very clear here, he's not even trying to tiptoe around the fact that he is firing this official because he is contradicting the president's baseless conspiracy theories that the president has been spreading around to try and legitimize his election loss, to try and vindicate himself. The president making very clear that this election, in his view, has been rigged and has been riddled with voter fraud, and that is exactly what Christopher Krebs, the head of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, has said did not happen. He has said this was the most secure election in history. He has also swatted down the president's conspiracy theory about this Dominion voting software machine, saying that there is no evidence, as the president has suggested, that any of this software had deleted votes or attributed votes to another candidate, despite what the president has said here. So this is something that Christopher Krebs and his team knew was coming. He had been very aware in the days leading up to this that he expected to likely be fired by the President of the United States, and obviously it is happening in the same fashion that we have seen with so many other officials firing via tweet.
You know, it is stunning, Jeremy, that he's doing this, right? I mean, it's every single thing in here is counterfactual. To the extent that anything would have impacted this election, which he lost resoundingly, 306 elections. Is there anyone, Jeremy, from your understanding, who's even in the room with him, or is he just in there doing this stuff? Just going on Twitter, fires the defense secretary. Going on Twitter a few days later, fires the guy who's in charge of election integrity in this country. He's just in there like crazy tweeting?
Well, he's certainly still in touch with officials. I mean, there are still folks at the White House who are around him, but we've learned that he's been spending most of his mornings at the White House, inside the residence of the White House, watching TV, processing all of this. And the other thing to point out is there are different views in the president's ear, as there are so often. Right now, you're at a point where Rudy Giuliani, the former New York City mayor, is telling the president that he has a shot here, screaming at Trump campaign attorneys late last week and telling them that they are liars for telling the president that his legal battles here are a long shot in terms of overturning the results of the election. And then on the other hand, you have other folks telling the president it's time to start acknowledging reality. So there's no question that he's hearing a lot of different things right now, and there are obviously still those voices encouraging the president to go deeper and deeper into this conspiracy theory territory, and some of the members of the president's legal team right now are pushing that very same narrative, including Sidney Powell, an attorney who's working with the president, who's pushed all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories, including stating that the CIA has been involved in altering votes in this election, which is of course not true, completely unfounded. But clearly the president wants to go deeper into this, and that's what we're seeing with this firing of Christopher Krebs as he continues to deny reality. Aaron.
All right, thank you very much. I hope none of these people ever have to spend time in places in the world where these kind of conspiracy theories actually get traction and you live in the kinds of governments that create that. Phil Mudd joins me on the phone. So, Phil, obviously former counter-terror official and at the CIA, our analyst. So Phil, your reaction here, the president has now gone on Twitter and fired the guy who came out, who ran the said this is the most secure election in American history, right, with the backing of the full United States government. The president has fired this guy, there he is, Christopher Krebs, putting out a whole bunch of lies. I don't even want to keep repeating them, but lies saying that, you know, the election was taken from him.
Yeah, there's a couple of reactions. There's a personal piece of someone who served in government for a couple decades, and that piece is, I mean, firing people on Twitter. I don't want to belabor this, Aaron, but firing people on Twitter. Remember, for James Comey, the FBI director, the president couldn't fire him in person. He sent over one of his personal assistants to do it. talk about low budget, but the more serious question is, look, we're about 2 months, maybe a little more than 2 months to the inauguration. In between there, we have two major vacation periods. We've got Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas. This is not about taking someone out of a position and putting in someone who's more loyal. As a president who's about to leave his position, you don't have time to do that. You've got less than 2 months if you take out the vacation time. This is about spite. I'm angry. I don't have that much time left. So the people who didn't support me, they're gone. Whether it's at Defense, at CIA, at FBI, they're gone. This is about spite. It's not about policy, and it's certainly not about replacing somebody with a person who's more loyal, because you just don't have time to do that.
Want to know the most common mistake men make when approaching women, but most have no...
No, you don't. All right, I want to bring in Ben Hovland as well, who is the chairman of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission. And I believe when you and I talked the other day, Ben, you've worked with Mr. Krebs, you know him. What's your reaction here to what the President of the United States has just done?
Yeah, I don't have official confirmation yet that what has happened. Obviously, I saw the tweet, certainly concerning. My experience with Director Krebs is that he's been a great director of CISA, showed a lot of leadership, particularly in the election space. I know he has done a great job pulling together the team and have enjoyed working with him on election issues. We had, such a success story this year as far as what we were able to do through the critical infrastructure subsector, that partnership, working on a range of issues, of course, primarily around cybersecurity, but a lot of work was done as well in response to the pandemic and running elections this year in these challenging times.
So, Ben, you come out, your team, right? You're saying this is the most secure election in American history. The President of the United States now just fires the guy who was, in charge of cybersecurity and intelligence here. And comes out and says that that statement was inaccurate, and then goes on to list a whole bunch of things saying that this election, massive fraud. What is your response to that? You just sat there and spent your entire professional life running this election, coming up with the most secure election in American history, and the President of the United States has just come out and said that's BS.
I think it's very concerning. I think that, as I've said to you before, I wish that the rhetoric we would keep hearing would match up with the court filings. Again, the professionals that run this election, folks that worked on securing this election, they dedicated a lot of their lives to this, put in a lot of hours working on this to make this election. And again, if there are any issues, those should be investigated. But what we keep seeing in the court filings doesn't add up to the rhetoric. Certainly, that's concerning. And again, what we need to base our understanding of elections on, the will of the people, is on facts and truth. When you talk to election officials across the country, they're confident in the security of this election. They're confident in the outcome of the election, that this was a fair election and that Americans made their voices heard. And we've got to respect the will of the people and the public servants that helped run this election and make this all possible.
So he doesn't respect it, and he says you guys are all wrong and all this is lies. He keeps putting these falsehoods out there. So he just fired, Mr. Krebs. He could fire you by tweet any moment, right? I mean, I presume you expect that to be possible, right?
Я не знаю, как будто застрял, понимаете? Вы о чем? Я использую один прием.
I'm in a little different position. We are an independent, bipartisan agency at the Election Assistance Commission. I guess that's certainly possible to try. There's any number of things that you can put on Twitter, as we've learned. But again, to me, this is about respecting the will of the American people, respecting our democracy. I can just say that the work, it's been an honor to work with Chris Krebs and his team. They did an amazing job reaching out to state and local election officials. Since 2016, there's really just been a sea change in information sharing across state, local, and federal government. That has really, when we talk about our confidence in the security of this election, in the processes and procedures that were in place, so much of that is because the work that has gone in since 2016 to improve that information sharing, improve the security of our elections, put in place additional safeguards. And so, again, a lot of that credit goes to Director Krebs, goes to his team for the work that they've done.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Ben Hovland, as the president has just fired another person by tweet, and in the president's tweet, putting a whole bunch of falsehoods.
On the Senate floor last night.
Hello, Corey here from the Box Scholar channel. Thank you for joining me today. I'd like to thank all my viewers and subscribers for watching my videos and continuing to support me. Without your support, this wouldn't be possible, so I do thank you. This is a very interesting and useful, highly useful actually, tutorial on Franz Liszt's scales and chords. It is a little known exercise that comes from Franz Liszt's technical exercises for piano, and accompanying this tutorial, in which I will explain how to play it, is accompanying this is the sheet music, which I highly encourage you to go and look at and purchase on the website here, the Box Scholar website. This is the brand new title, fresh off the press, from Box Scholar's highly anticipated Piano Technique series, Scales and Chords by Franz Liszt. And with this, you will receive a little background information and practice tips on it. And you will also receive, of course, the sheet music and with fingerings here. This is an excellent, excellent exercise, one of my all-time favorite exercises that I've been playing for many years now, and it really has improved my chord playing. It's also an excellent pedal study because you can use the pedal as you're playing these chords, and as I explain in this tutorial. There are actually two tutorials on this. There's the present video that you're watching now, which I explain all the details and I play a little bit. And then there's a separate video in which I play all the way through with no talking, in which you can, hopefully when you have your sheet music, you'll be able to follow along with it, and this will help guide you in mastering this very difficult technique of harmonizing chords. And Hammond, composed by myself. This is also one of our best sellers here at Box Scholar. People all over the world have been buying this. I do thank you if you have purchased one. The famous Tausig exercise, or study number 91 for piano, which is also perhaps our all-time bestseller at Box Scholar. So I do encourage you, if you have these already, thank you very much for purchasing those. I highly believe these will help you become a better pianist. I guarantee it. So without any further ado, here is Franz Liszt's Scales and Chords, and you'll be able to see it from the overhead view. Thank you. Okay, so let's begin looking at Franz Liszt's Scales and Chords exercise. First of all, let me explain how this works. We are going to play all major and minor scales, major scale and harmonic going up, melodic going down. I'll explain that in a minute. And it will go through all the keys chromatically. Now, in Liszt's original exercise, he does like, say, C major, A minor, the relative minor, then he goes up, I believe, C sharp or D flat and the relative minor. I've altered it here to go up chromatically to the parallel minor and then up chromatically. So the way that this works here in my edition is, first of all, I'm just going to outline C major and C minor. So first of all, we're going to just start by playing octaves. going to fill in these octaves with 2 notes in the middle, harmonizing and making nice sounding chords going up. Now the minor does this. So after C major, we'll go to minor. Remember your E flat here, F, A flat, B natural, and now going down, Liszt does a very interesting thing because it sounds better this way with the chords. We're taking the natural minor going down. Okay, once again minor, harmonic minor going up, and natural minor going down. Just with all. Now I would suggest before learning the chords, just to learn a few of these just with octaves. So let's go up to the next key, which is D flat major or C sharp. Play these for about 1 second each, not fast. You can even go slower than this if you would like to. Now minor, C sharp harmonic minor going up. A. Make sure you get that. That's a B sharp. Now let's go up to D major. Note pedal. It's good to first learn it with note pedal and then to add pedal later. Now, D minor, D harmonic minor. I'm sorry. Natural minor going down. And so on. It simply works up all 12 keys, all 12 major keys, and it's parallel minor. Now you might think, oh, that's all nice and easy. Now we're going to fill in the notes in the middle. You can see here in the score. It's okay here in Bach Scholar's edition here. You can see the chords are all written out with octaves plus 2 notes in the middle. So you're always going to play 4 notes per chord. And it's always 1 line here per scale. So now let's take hand. It's good to practice hands separately, but for time's sake, for this video, I'm just going to do hands together. Okay, so we have our C, and now we're going to fill it in with E and G. E and G, making a complete chord. Many piano teachers teach to play 4 here. 5, 4, 2, 1. I do not. I teach to play 3, and I will explain that in a minute, but please use 3 here. Don't use 4. It remains consistent with all major keys. So 5, octave here, 3, 2 here, 2, 3 here. That's a root position. Now we're going up to D. Play the octave first. Now we're going to fill it in with G and B. G and B. 3 and 2 here, 2 and 4 here. This is a second inversion of a dominant chord, second inversion of a G chord. So those are the C chord in root position, the G chord in second inversion. Make sure you play 3, 2 here, 2, 4 here.
Thanks for checking out guitartricks.com recently. We're running a special right now that's really cool. This is the best time to join Guitar Tricks. For a short time when you
This is exactly what President Trump said he would never do, that he would never telegraph to the enemy U.S. troop movements.
Which brings us to the last thing before we go tonight. Not for nothing, he's our chief foreign correspondent, in part because Richard Engel pays attention. He was reporting tonight on overseas reaction to the news that Trump has now told the world how many troops we're taking out of Afghanistan and Iraq, when we're taking them out, and how many Americans in uniform that will leave behind. He has not only telegraphed the plan, he has meticulously laid it out in public for the world to hear. As if to spike the ball in advance, terrorists rocketed the Green Zone today and killed a child in downtown Baghdad. This is what happens when you tell the enemy your plans. And Trump repeatedly warned us about exactly what he did today.
We need unpredictability. We're so predictable. We're like bad checker players. Why don't you tell us exactly what you're going to do in Syria, what you're going to do in Iraq? What? I said, I don't want to tell you. I hate those questions. You know why? Because I want to be unpredictable. I don't want to tell ISIS what I'm going to do to knock the hell out of it. We are not going to tell the enemy that we're leaving Iraq on such and such a day. Obama gets up. We will leave Iraq, and he gives a date. I would never have given a date. I might have said we're going to stay there for 20 years, we're going to stay there for eternity. We have to be unpredictable a little bit. We have to be. We can't keep talking, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Whatever happened, remember the great generals, it was called the element of surprise. They would say, well, what are you going to do? I don't want to tell you. I'm saying, I don't want to tell you. They said, oh, you don't know the answer. You know, these wise guys. I don't want the enemy to know all this stuff, right?
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with
Senior faculty member and senior director of the Golansky Institute. Today, I'm going to give a lecture on teaching the single and double rotation effectively. The first thing that I'd like to say is that rotation is one component of an overall technique. This component combines with many other components to produce speed, ease, and control at the keyboard. I hope that this lecture will provide certain suggestions and guidelines for problems that come up while teaching the rotation. The first thing we would like to discuss here is alignment. Alignment comes first before motion. We are doing that for the purpose of the finger, hand, and arm to be at the best mechanical advantage to the instrument. The purpose for the finger, hand, and arm to be aligned is so that it can drop freely into the instrument. Let us briefly discuss the sitting height and distance from the keyboard as it is described in great detail on the first video in the Taubman tapes. The sitting height puts the playing mechanism, the finger, the hand, and the arm, in the best mechanical advantage for playing the instrument. The proper place for the alignment to be is that the forearm should be level or slightly above the surface of the white keys. A very helpful way to guide someone to this is to extend a piece of paper or a book from the white keys. Just check if they're in a general place that's correct. or a book from the white keys, just check send keys. A very helpful way to guide someone to this alignment is the best mechanical advantage for playing the instrument. The proper place for the alignment to be is that the forearm should be level or slightly above the surface of the white keys. A very helpful way to guide someone to this is to extend a piece of paper or a book from the white keys. Just check if they're in a general place that's correct. The proper distance from the keyboard allows for total comfort. It is not good to be too close because a situation of crowding would result.